Well, when the church bells ring 3 times, what does that mean, Tom?
Once upon a time in spaghetti westerns.
Welcome, everybody. It's high noon on Friday. I'm Jay Jennings.
I'm Tom Betts.
And we're the dynamic duo of Spaghetti Westerns. We're here Pacific Standard Time. It's noon. In the East Coast, it's 3 p.m. In the EU, it's 9. And what time is it in the UK, Tom?
8.
It's 8 o'clock, 1 hour time difference. And in between, if you can just find this at a later date, you'll be just as fortunate as the ones who are watching live. Thank you on YouTube. Thank you on Facebook. The show is growing every week. This is week 10, Tom. Can you believe it?
Yeah, it's podcast 10. Unbelievable. Double digits already.
Right, and we've had some fantastic shows in the past, and we have some actually planned in the future. But today we've got a great one, Tom, and I think we should bring in, welcome everybody to the Once Upon a Time in Spaghetti Westerns, the podcast. Say that fast 3 times, Tom. It's not going to happen.
Not this week.
Of course, I am Jay Jennings, film and poster collector. Been doing it for many years, as this man has been His Royal Highness of the Spaghetti Western. And Tom had his, yes, Tom always denies it, but you're one of the people on Mount Rushmore, Tom.
I told you there's no experts in this genre, but we've got 3 that are pretty close today.
We do. This is our authors roundtable, and we're lucky and fortunate enough to have 3 of the best writers in the business, in the genre and in other genres. So let's bring them in one by one. This is the one, the only, Ulrich Bruckner. Hi, Ulrich.
Hey.
Hi, guys. Good to see you.
Nice to see you.
Dankeschön.
How's the weather in Almeria? Very good.
We're doing good.
Excellent.
So listen,
the bars are closed, so we've got nothing else to do but to talk to you.
Okay.
Anyway, Ulrich, you the author for a few more bodies, and then the companion piece to the Selena DVD, The Corpses Pave Their Way. Is that an official book?
Actually, that only came out for the Sergio Solima books and was not available anywhere else.
Oh, okay. Well, we're big fans, as you know, of all your work, and we have two of your fellow authors here waiting to get on. And I thought he was dead, Tom, when he gave Melvin and Howard.
Yeah,
and he gave
we thought
him a
he was
ride
in Vegas someplace, but...
And then all of a sudden popped up this great writer of different genres, and one of them being spaghetti westerns. It's the one, the only, Howard Hughes.
Hey, Howard Hughes. The Howard Hughes, yes.
Indeed,
the one and only.
Yeah.
Hi, author of spaghetti westerns, Once Upon a Time in the Italian West, and of course, Cinema Italiano. How are you, sir?
I'm very well, thank you. Yeah, just getting towards 8 o'clock in the UK, so it's going dark and feeling... glad to be with you.
Wow, we're just honored to have you, yeah. And was your first book the Spaghetti Westerns one with Tuco on the cover?
The first edition of it actually, didn't it? It had Clint Eastwood. It was the Pocket Essentials one, which was just Clint by himself. It was the one with the noose around his neck. It's a much smaller book. And then when it came out 10 years later, they added pictures, and that's the one, yeah. And
Tom always plugging.
Three or four extra films, and it's slightly longer. It's about 40,000 words, and that's the one with Tuco on the cover. Yeah, so
right.
Yeah, and then the other one.
So the other one,
between the two,
you can fit it in your pocket. The other one.
You really can. Yeah.
Well, let's meet our third combatant in today's event. Actually, he's a historian, and he also, I guess, speaks and has a internship at a university, but he'll clear that up more than me. Lee Broughton, everybody. Lee, welcome to the show.
Hey, Lee. Good to meet you all. Hi, guys. You all okay?
We're good. We're honored to have you, sir. How are you?
I'm fine, thanks, and thanks for inviting me.
Well, there's Lee. You've done 3 spaghetti western type books: the Euro Western, Critical Perspectives on the Western, and Refaming Cult Westerns. So,
Uh,
let's talk about the Euro Western. How did that idea come to be?
Quite simply, when you read a lot of what critics say about European westerns, and particularly spaghetti westerns, they always tell us how different they are to American westerns. So I kind of went in and looked at 3 types of European westerns: Italian westerns, British westerns, and the West German westerns. Specifically looking to see what was different about each country's interaction with the Western, and what I found is what you find presented in that book.
Okay, one of us has feedback. Who do you think it is?
Don't know.
I hear a television in the background, and it's not me or Tom.
No.
Anybody
Not me either.
watching TV in the?
I haven't got a telly
Nope.
on.
Okay, that was the weirdest thing. I thought I'd heard an episode of Sanford and Son in the background or something. But anyway, so we're honored to have you all here. This is going to be a great show. We'll talk about your books, and I guess what inspires you to keep writing. And because I guess you guys, along with a few other people, have really kept the genre alive with your tomes. Thank God, and keep going, because Tom and I are big fans. And I guess we'll start off. Howard, we'll ask you first off, what was the first spaghetti western you ever saw?
That would have been The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, I would think. When I was young, I saw the start of lots of spaghetti westerns, I think, because they were on about 9:30 at night, which was, when I was younger, much too late for me to be watching. So I was into the music already, and when I started to watch them on TV, I saw The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, Fistful of Dollars, Few Dollars More, in quite close succession in the late 70s, early 80s. And I think there was a couple of others on TV around the same time, maybe Sabata and Fistful of Dynamite as well. But I saw the first full one I saw was probably The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, and that would have been on video.
Wow, that's quite interesting. Ulrich, what were some of your favorites growing up?
The first one was the Fistful of Dollars in 1975 on Austrian television. That came on like at 11 o'clock at night or something like that. And I was so impressed by the music that I decided to tape the next movie next week, which was for a few dollars more. And I listened to that music all the time. That was the only way for me to have this music at that time. Of course, later I got all the LPs, whatever they had. And but it was great to have the whole score when I taped the movie. Just the sound of it, of course, because that was before the time of VCRs. And then later on, by now I have it on VCR, on DVD, on Blu-ray, whatever you have it. And it never stops growing, the collection. Of course,
it never
most
does.
of the time you watch the same movies, but of course, sometimes you watch some obscure films as well. And
that's the curse. It never ends.
Exactly. And it's great to to find some new films once in a while that you haven't seen at all, because these are so obscure
that's
films.
Right.
You know? So,
Tom, you got a question for the gang? Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well, we got to ask Lee, what was the first one he saw?
Oh, yeah. My dad had the Dollar soundtrack. I was familiar with the music too. But when Fistful of Dollars came on TV the first time in the mid-70s, I missed that. But the kids at school were just completely crazy about it. So when For a Few Dollars More was on a few weeks later, I made sure I got to see that. And that was my first spaghetti western. And after that, I had quite a decent run of top-quality western British TV in the late 80s. Professional Gun, Death Rides a Horse, The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, all the top-quality ones.
Right.
Cool.
Yep.
I just want to, real quick, since we're in all parts of the world today, it happened.
Not to worry.
He's gone.
Nope, can't hear you. Can't hear you.
I'm back.
There you go.
Yeah.
Anyway,
that's great.
all planned. I do it within the first 2 minutes of every broadcast. I see when the mic can go out. So hopefully the technical gods I was saying we're coming from all parts of the world, Austria, two parts of the UK. Tom's and I won't give it away where he is, and I'm in Almeria. So we're good. We're everywhere. We're good. So let's move on to why you guys are even here. Howard, I know today we have the internet and DVDs and Blu-rays and Wikipedia, but when you were starting to write, what research or resources did you have available to you there in the UK?
Oh, videotapes for starters were the only way to see the films. And a bit like Ulrich said, then I recorded the soundtracks at the end of The Good, the Bad and the Ugly, the last scene, because again, that was something that was the only way you could hear the music until you bought the albums. But I think it was VHS was the main one, and then there were three main books that I picked up that were a massive influence on me. One was Christopher Frayling's spaghetti western book. One was a book called The Making of the Great Westerns by William Meyer, and the other one was the Aurum Film Encyclopedia edited by Phil Hardy, which is a huge book. And these three, so I read about westerns because I was interested in the Wild West and the history of the American West and the Civil War before I was into westerns, really. So one grew out of the other. So I read about westerns, and then I started to collect them and watch them, and it all sort of pulled together in terms of a thing. And I say, key sources were the film encyclopedia and before the internet, so it was opera violence. It was mainly books, mainly print and what I could get from the library and stuff.
Would that be fair to say for you other gentlemen, this kind of same resources available to you at that time? Oh, whoa. Now we're having audio issues. That's a first. Gentlemen, once again, your resources where you were at the time. Oh, wait a minute. There's Lee. We're having great tech difficulties today. Go ahead.
Yeah. Christopher Frayling's book and The Upper Island. Again, it was hard to come by this. So I had to come with my book. That's why I first managed to get in touch with Tom, because he was the address of the Western or Italiana fanzine in the back. And I started with my first night in other fanzine with Tom. And in those days, Westerns were hard to come by. You had to stay up late at night and catch one at 2 in the morning and stay up and set the video recorder to make sure you didn't miss it. That thing. I'll go to Philly market and find these strange bootlegs that were really polished. The only way to actually see these off the floor.
Right. Well, let me ask you, Lee. First of all, we're having slight mic problems with you. Anything going on there? You're not touching anything, or?
No, nothing.
Okay, well then,
How about
keep
bringing
looking.
the mic back down
Yeah, if you
to
keep
where
looking
it
at,
was?
we'll do it. We'll do a check now. I don't mind. So keep
Yeah.
talking, looking straight ahead.
Okay, how's that?
No, you got to move more your cheek to the left, other way, that way. Now start talking.
Yeah, the mic's that direction though.
Yeah, no, but it's working if you turn your head that way
Really?
for some odd reason.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
Is
the
that-
director in me. Stage right, I think.
Okay.
So, or left. Okay, so keep it just look like that for the rest of the show and you'll be fine. Tom, you have a question?
Well, yeah, Ulrich, the same thing. I mean, you're a little bit older than these two guys. I mean, did you have to do the same thing, videotapes and books?
Videotapes and books, definitely. And the same books that Howard mentioned, like the Aurum Encyclopedia was amazing. And the Opera of Violence, then the Christopher Frayling book from, I think, 75 or something like that.
Right.
And all these books were an amazing help to me. And also I had some Italian encyclopedias where they had the running times of the movies before they were cut down in many countries. So sometimes in my book, I have running times that are not even available nowadays. So my mistake, of course, but
Well, that
at least most
changes
of the
too.
films.
Well, I mean, that changed. You go to IMDb and they've got 5 different times.
Yeah, I know,
Spanish
that's the
version is
problem.
95, Italian is 93, the German's 14 minutes.
I mean, the
Seems like
German
the
versions were the
Germans
worst.
are
They
really
were
the
always
shortest,
cut.
yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That was crazy.
So well, let me
And,
ask you. Oh, go ahead. Finish the story.
No, it's okay. Jay?
All right, because I got lots of questions for you guys. I want to get your brains moving. So let me ask you then, with your spaghetti western books specifically, what are you trying to say? I mean, obviously you're giving us the history of the books. or the films and the directors, but what do you think in your individual books when you write these? And I'm sure you're aware, maybe, hopefully I'm not getting too deep like a Frailing book, but what do you guys hope that your book will have that perhaps another book wouldn't have? What little tidbit or what do you hope will get out, different fans will get from your book that, perhaps they wouldn't get from another book? There's something special that stands out. Anyone could jump in.
Well, I think in my case, it's sort of like a historian aspect. It's like the history of the people. It's like the people, the people who came together to make the films, the locations where they were made, the stories, the influences, all the different things that came together to make the films what they are, and kind of looking at how they fitted together and sort of fitted it together compared to American westerns at the time. It was their history rather than anything else. I think my books. I obviously write about films that I like. My choices are always. Once Upon a Time in the Italian West is basically my favorite 20 spaghetti westerns. It's my choice to put those in there, but they all, in their own way, represent something about spaghetti westerns, a different aspect of them, and they tell that particular book tells the narrative story as well, of the Fistful of Dollars through to My Name Is Nobody. So right. it's like that worked for that book. That kind of format worked for that book.
Yeah, I think it comes out in your writing. I think what I also meant to say is I think it shows in all your different writing styles. It's nice that you all have individual ways of putting pen to paper and expressing yourselves. Ulrich, you feel that way? All you authors have something a little different to offer us fans?
For me, it's my book I saw more as an encyclopedia because I put all the movies in and then I picked the 120 titles that I liked the best and that I thought would be regarded as the best ones. So in chronological order. And I also put more information on the composers, like on the locations and stuff like that, and wanted to collect as much information as possible that I had in my collection over the last, previous 10 years before I started writing the book. And I just wanted to compress everything and put it in one book. So that was my goal.
It is. And I keep begging this man for an English version.
Now you have the internet. Yeah. Now you don't need an English version.
No, the compliment's on you. The internet has a long way to catch up with you. Lee, let me ask you the same question in your writings. I see yours a little bit more on the scholastic, professorial type. Are you addressing the more intellect of us?
Maybe. It's still very accessible to everybody, I think. But yeah, I like to look at the way Italian history and Italian politics of the time might actually feed into some of the things that we see in these westerns. And quite often it's the things which the critics and the naysayers reacted to negatively that are quite often the bits which relate to Italian history and Italian politics. So, for instance, the American Civil War in Italian westerns, a lot of people get word about the way that is represented. But if you actually look at it in terms of the way Italy had its own North-South Civil War at the same time as the American Civil War, in fact, and then other North-South conflicts over the ages, the way they present the kind of Northerners as the aggressors and sometimes the bad guys against more noble Southerners makes absolute sense. And similarly, if we think about the way a lot of people have bemoaned the presence of clowns and circuses in a lot of spaghetti westerns, but if you think about the Italian tradition of the circus and the commedia dell'arte, etc., it all makes perfect sense. And quite often, this idea that the circus is a leveling field, it stands for some form of equality. We often find in the movies that we have these African American and characters who are able to operate in ways they wouldn't be able to operate in an American Western during the 1960s. But in the 1960s in Italy, you have Woody Strode and Brock Peters, Lola Falana, Vanetta McGee, all playing these very strong African Americans, which are very distinct to African Americans we would get in American Westerns.
Right. No, I'm glad you mentioned that, because that's basically why I'm always riveted when I read, especially the Euro Western book. Let me ask you guys, right off the bat, we all have a favorite spaghetti Western of all time. Tom knows what mine is. What is it again, Tom?
I'm not even gonna mention it.
No, it's not Little Rita, Tom.
No, it's not Little Rita.
No, it's $10,000.
$10,000
Yeah.
for Massacre.
So anyway, so now we're going to get to our least favorite, the ones that you cannot stand to watch. I know what Tom's are, and he'll tell you. But it'd be interesting to find out what you guys would rather not watch, or if someone offered you a beer and some popcorn that you'd pass up. Ulrich, what's your least favorite spaghetti western?
Probably any of this Demofili Fidani movies. I can't pass on those. No,
Well, Ulrich won't be back because the fans loved.
Oh man, they want his own show. They want 4 episodes. Oh man, and you know his daughter's a fan. We just lost that audience completely.
That's all right. You know the show is honest because Ulrich just throws it out there. That's right.
I like to call him Miles. Ulrich,
yeah.
Miles Dean.
Miles Dean.
Howard, what's your least favorite?
Probably some of the the cheaper the films became, like Fidani films and stuff. There was
There we go, another one.
No,
Wow.
not necessarily Fidani himself though. I think there's
Kano.
there's a couple of even worse ones that like films that were made out of bits of other films, and things like that were kind of, and also
piecemeal.
People refer to like saying the guilty pleasure and all this of certain types of westerns, but there's always something interesting, even in the worst western. There's like a location or a gun the hero's using, or a costume, or the music's recycled a lot towards the end of the. So you hear an awful lot of. Stelvio Cipriani, for instance, and that seems to come up an awful lot. And Lalo Gori, I think the guy Fidani uses a lot. So I think they're very, very cheap ones. They're not. I think I watched them once, but you've got to watch them all once, haven't you? So,
of course,
right?
Yeah.
So Lee, I hate to even ask. This will probably bring out an hour dissertation from you.
He'll get into a political movie, a revolutionary movie. Yeah.
Which one's your least favorite?
The Companeros.
I do like bad ones myself, but one that possibly was quite painful to watch, one called Santana in the Valley of Death.
Wait, turn a little bit more.
Yeah.
There you
In
go.
the Valley of Death, William
Yes,
Berg.
William Berger. Yep.
That's quite a painful one. And just a lot of wandering about in the desert.
Right. So what about when Kinski wanders around and God said to Cain? Is that the same thing or is that different?
I think it's different. I mean, I can't bring that movie to mind right now, but Kinski's always got something about him no matter what he's doing. Even if he's just sat watching a fly, I think he'd be entertaining.
Right. No, yeah, understandable. Unfortunately, we're getting some in and out from you, Lee, but we'll keep trying. It doesn't matter. So, okay, Tom, you want to take the next question?
Well, I wanted to know from each of you, when did it hit your brain that I'm going to write a book? When did that spark enter your mind that I'm going to write a book on spaghetti westerns or whatever your project was?
For me, probably.
I mean, you had a collection, Ulrich, so I can see you putting stuff together and say, I'm going to publish this. But these other guys are writers, so. No answers. Okay.
No, sorry. Yeah. Well,
That's all right.
For me, I started after reading Christopher Frayling's book and the Orem Encyclopedia. I started for my own entertainment, writing little reviews, sort of 200-word reviews kind of thing, as though I was writing an encyclopedia just for my own entertainment on an actual typewriter. I've still got some of the typed in, and as I started to do this, I really liked it. So the reviews got longer, and I thought, well, I started to the idea I got from my first book, which was actually the Once Upon a Time in the Italian West, the one that came out later. I started to write chapters from that were, I put the information together. I'd have a structure of cast list, plot. Yeah, that's right. Brilliant. There it goes. Yeah.
Cheap plug.
And they kind of, the chapters grew themselves kind of thing. And then I decided on which ones I was going to include. It was like, it sort of happened, I guess. It was just a hobby that grew into something else, I would say.
All right. What was your first idea?
Actually, I just wanted to kind of. In Germany, they had an encyclopedia of westerns by Joe Hambus, was the author. I was always a big fan of this book, and I thought it would be a good idea to do something similar, but focused on the European western. So that's the reason why I wanted to put it in eventually. And then I think I toyed with the idea in the mid '90s or something like that, and then I think in 2001 or so, I contacted different publishers, and
How difficult was that? How open were they?
Not open at all. But
Wow.
one was not too bad, which was Schwarzkopf Publishing in Berlin, and I went to the book fair in Frankfurt, and then finally convinced him to do it, and then he sent me the contract, and then I started. Right, I basically had the contract in my hand before I started the book.
Gotcha.
But then I had a deadline and everything, and so it was quite hard work to do it.
Sounds
Sure.
like
That time
sounds like the Beatles being turned down, by Mecca in like 61, 60. Remember that? They listen to what
Yeah, exactly.
Love Me Do and Hold Your Hand. Here's the Bible for spaghetti westerns. We'll take a pass.
How about you, Lee?
Yeah, I was getting the ideas together that went into the Euro Western, and I then applied to do the piece using those ideas, which was accepted. So that allowed me to kind of spend more time checking them out and actually writing them as part of that process. Then once I'd been finished, we used to prepare to re-editing it slightly and making it ready for publication.
Lee, try turning your head to the right this time.
Okay, how's this one?
A little
There
better.
it goes. That's better.
Better. If I bring it a little closer, maybe.
There you
Okay,
go.
go ahead. Like you're a DJ.
Okay. Yeah, I had the ideas formulated, and I applied to do a PH using those ideas as the basis of the application, and it was accepted. So I had 3 years to actually write it as part of that process. And then once it had been finished and assessed, it was just a case of re-editing it, ready for a publisher to look at.
Oh,
Gotcha.
okay. That's an awesome story.
Yeah.
Let me just tell everybody or remind everybody, I guess we're almost at the 30-minute mark. You're watching Once Upon a Time in Spaghetti Westerns, the podcast. We are honored to have not only the one and only Tom Betts, but Ulrich Bruckner, Lee Broughton, and Howard Hughes are here to discuss spaghetti westerns and just things, whatever we think about, what your favorite beer is. My favorite German beer is Grolsch. I think Ulrich knows that.
Yep.
And but my favorite Japanese beer is Sapporo. Just a little bit of tidbit advice for the panel. So let me ask you guys, what aspect of spaghetti westerns do you think is, when it comes to, I guess, in book form or on the net, or is it pretty well covered? Is there anything missing? Or are we at the modern era where anything you want to know about spaghetti westerns? Anybody could start.
I think nowadays you can find almost everything about the genre, be it locations, the music, composers, directors, actors. If you search for it, you will see it. My friend Sebastian has an excellent website, Spaghetti Western Net, and many times I go in there. They have a nice forum there, and you find information on almost every movie out there in the field, you know. And if you don't find anything, then it's probably not worth it finding anything out about it anyway. So
That's another thing that Ulrich brought up was in when we did have the internet back in the 90s, we did have forums that a lot of us used to go on. And I mean, I could talk to Ulrich at 9 o'clock at night, it's noon here, and we would feed information back and forth with each other. And that's one thing about this genre. I don't know about all of Westerns, but we don't seem to care about not sharing information. I mean, if I ask Ulrich something, he's not going to say, "Oh, well, I know that. Buy my book." No way, I'm going to give it to you. I mean, I contact Howard all the time for little bits and pieces of where was this filmed and who's this guy, and he's asked me about, do you have a picture of so and so, because I see his name, but I don't know who he looks like, because they're small actors and things like that. So we got a lot of information from the internet on these different forums. John Nudge's Spaghetti Western forum, Ulrich and I used to be on there and go back and forth, and we would get actors come on once in a while. Yeah, I mean, it was we didn't know if that was really them or not, because I couldn't believe that someone would actually come on there and it was, an actor.
It's
from the
Clayton
old
Moore,
days.
Tom.
But I mean, the thing that's frustrating for me today of doing research, and I'm sure Lee, you'll say this, and Howard and Ulrich, you find a main actor that was in, especially the Spanish westerns, a main actor that was not a star, but he was a big supporting actor. There's no information on these people. It's like,
That's true.
how can this guy be in 20 films? No one knows when he was born, if he's still alive, or where he was from, or anything. And I'm going, you'd think that enough of these actors worked with somebody that they'd say, oh, that's Jose. Yeah, his birthday's sometime in December. I don't know exactly, but he was probably 30 when I worked with him, so he was born in 1935 or something. But
Right.
it's just like,
And they're big films as well. These actors are in really, really big films, and we still don't
Exactly.
know who they are to this day. I mean, it's astonishing that your call sheets or something doesn't exist that would identify everybody who was on set on any given day.
yeah, that's the other thing. You'll see pictures of somebody, Howard, and you'll see them in film after film after film, and no one knows who they are. What do you mean you don't know who he is? He was in 5 films with you. He played, such and such. Well, I don't know who it was,
Well, let me just take a quick, I forgot to mention this at the beginning of the show, to welcome all our friends from around the world and the U.S. to Once Upon a Time in Spaghetti Westerns, the podcast, where we usually, Tom and I tackle interesting subjects. We have guests like today's show. We show trailers and clips and homages and montages. And today is kind of a little lighter version. I wanted to spend more time so we could talk to our wonderful guests. But I forgot to mention at the beginning of the show, guys, I have a surprise. I have a surprise every week for Tom, for the Fernando Sancho show. Claudia, Miss Cardinal? Yeah, Claudia.
Yeah,
Miss Tom.
right. Yeah, that.
Anyways, so no, the surprise is I'm going to be showing some very rare. There was a series of 5 TV spots for one of our favorite Lee Van Cleef movies, The Big Gun Down. And these are straight from 16 millimeter. So let's look at the first of a few TV shots. Just to slow up the pace a little bit, we can sit back and remember when we sat on the TV and watched this spot. Here we go, everybody.
Death has many faces. In The Big Gun Down, it comes suddenly with the speed of a bullet. It comes slowly with the crack of a whip. It comes unexpectedly with the flick of a knife. It comes brutally with the charge of a bull. Lee Van Cleef, The Big Gun Down. He strikes without pity. The Big Gun Down. The Big Gun Down in Technicolor.
I guess that was the long version.
I want to
So,
know. I want to know who that stunt man was that got hit by the bull, and how much he got paid for that stunt. I cringe every time I see that. The other thing is that wasn't Ted Cassidy. This is something for you, Howard. A couple of weeks ago, Jay played a preview of The Stranger and the Gunfighter, Blood Money. The guy who did the narrative was Ted Cassidy, the guy that played Lurch on the
Right.
Addams Family. Remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I never knew that.
Yeah.
I said, yeah, you
Wow.
should do a lot of them.
Yeah.
You go back and listen to it, that you know it's him. You go, oh yeah, that's Lurch.
Yeah, once in a
he
while,
did the
I'll be lucky. I'll be lucky enough to stump Tom. What did you guys think of I think that's one of Lee's best roles. What do you guys think?
Oh yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was missing as well for quite some time in the UK. We had to wait a lot of years to actually see that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Almost
Why
like
do you think,
gang-
why do you think that was? Censorship or?
It just went out of circulation. I'm not sure whether the British studio or distributor that owned it just forgot about it, or if it fell between the cracks somewhere.
Wow.
But it just wasn't on TV or on video for decades. I mean, it's still not available on video in the UK.
Well, we see it
what
all
is
the
it?
time.
Is it a video nasty? What's going on
I
here?
don't know.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
in the
Ridiculous.
States. It's Columbia Pictures in the US, I think, with a thing.
Correct.
But in the UK, I think it was someone like in the UK. I think it may have been Columbia as well here. But it's one of those that the first time I saw it was a videotape off Greek television with subtitles. I mean,
gee.
absolutely, and that was the very, very short version as well. So
Mm-hmm.
The 80-minute version, probably, right?
that's it. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, in English, but with
Yeah.
with a very, very with awful lot cut out. The opening gunfight cut right down. You know, the bit in the wood when he finds the three guys at the start. I mean, it took me years to track down. I think the Ulrich's version was the first time I saw it as a full length film. In fact, the Salima box.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
Wow.
So I was
Amazing.
gonna move on. I was gonna ask Ulrich a little bit about your past. You did some DVD distribution. Could you give us a little bit of background on that? Because you were basically, I think, one of the people responsible to getting out a lot of these European titles.
Yeah, I started the film division at Koch Media in 2003. And
Okay.
since I was a big fan, and always was a big fan of spaghetti westerns, we released a lot of these films at the time. And for the first time, uncut and in a proper format and everything. And with Italian original tracks and German subtitles and so forth. And so we continued that. I left Koch Media about 7 years later. I went to Sony a few years, and then I started my own label, which is Explosive Media. And there I released also the Big Gun Down and Face to Face on Blu-ray and some others like the Sabata movies and Death Rides a Horse. And soon we will release Tempo di Massacro, Massacre Time, for the first time worldwide on Blu-ray from a beautiful 4K scan. And it looks
Wow.
really good, so should be
What
nice.
was What was the
forward to
first
that.
film you did for Coach? Spaghetti Western.
I think it was a Sartana, not a real Sartana, a pseudo Sartana with Johnny Garco. It was more of a comedy. Forgot the English title now. I think it was from 1970 or something like that. It was filmed in Spain. I think it was, besides the fourth Sartana he did, that was the only Johnny Garco film that he shot in Spain, in Almeria.
Gotcha.
And
Wow.
William Bogart was his co-star in it, the Italian actor.
Guglielmo Mancoy
I
or
know that
something.
one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yep.
So that was the first one, and then I think we did La Voglio Morto, I Want Him Dead,
Mm-hmm.
with Craig Hill,
That's a
and
good
then
one.
we
Right.
did Blind Man and some others. So, and then of
Well-
course the Solima box, and then we did $10,000 for a Massacre in a box, together with the follow-up film, and the
Right.
Camposanto movie with Johnny Garco, and a lot of those. So these were
Well-
beautiful releases at the time, definitely.
Oh yeah.
Oh, they still are. I've watched them all. They're somewhere, but back behind the saloon. But no, I want to thank you personally, and for being one of the people responsible for bringing stuff out. I was going to wait to do a little book talk first before I got into your little DVD.
Okay.
Part of your career. But thank you so much for those releases. Being a collector, it means a lot to me. I was going to move on and say, do you think at this present day, well, we can start with you, Howard. Do you think the spaghetti western itself can still sustain or maintain its kind of cultish popularity, or is it still kind of looked down as this niche genre?
I think it's possibly more popular than it has been for years because due to the Tarantino films and the use of the music and the fact that you can literally, when I wrote my first book, I couldn't buy a lot of these films on video. By the time it was published again 10 years later, they'd all come out on DVD, and now we're 10 years later again, they're on Blu-ray. There seems to be an appetite from the public with streaming sites and the music, and everything seems to be feeding into a mini movement kind of thing. I think people still seem very interested in the subject and still seem willing to buy collector's editions like the Django, like a Fistful of Dynamite, the ones that come out where they've put all the extra there's documentaries, there's interviews, there's a
Yeah.
little book with it. So that kind of thing. It's more of a collectible. And the information that, the interviews, for instance, are absolutely superb. The little nuggets of information you're getting from those interviews are stuff that,
Right.
you're only going to find out from these people who were actually in the films.
There, exactly.
So,
Leo,
yeah, they're still very popular.
Yeah, I think absolutely getting more popular. If you active on Twitter or on a lot of these social media sites, there are a lot of very young guys and even girls very much talking about spaghetti westerns and very knowledgeable about spaghetti westerns. So it says to me that the new generation is indeed embracing the genre.
well, I think I agree. I would just get your opinion on it. I think you can look on it. Well, as me, I love the genre a lot, so I kind of I always need to see where we're trending, and I think we are trending better thanks to the internet and Blu-rays and books and the Spaghetti Western database. And you're absolutely right. Maybe 20, 30 years ago, it was a little different. So I tend to agree with that. And thankfully, as a collector, unfortunately, on the poster side, that's getting tougher to find. I've been collecting for years. So spaghetti Western posters they're tougher to find either on eBay or in private estate sales. But I've got mine, so I can happily live on and pass it to my son of Django. So, yeah. So then let me ask you then, is there a certain aspect about spaghetti Westerns that we're not seeing, do you think? Anybody could jump in. Like, is there, in all of them, are they all individually have their own merit? Or is there something symbolic you think the directors, like Carbucci, with maybe some of those political ones, outside of that, are they just good, clean fun and for a paycheck? Or, I mean, I know you guys have written books on, and others have been analyzing what they truly mean. What are these films are actually a message? Do you think that's it, or is it entertainment, or both?
I think definitely when you talk about the Sergio Corbucci movies and the other spaghetti westerns, a lot of the guys who made those movies were some were members of the Communist Party in Italy, but some, if not communists, were certainly left-leaning and very liberal thinkers. So it's very tempting to agree with the idea that, yeah, the films are very entertaining, but that message of peons or racial others in revolt in the Mexican Revolution or whatever is very much like an instructional message to people around the world who might have been in a similar position at that time.
Gotcha.
Right.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah.
Howard, what do you think? Political, or is it just good, plain fun?
I watched them initially as entertainments. Like Professional Gun closely resembles The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly in terms of the way it's the presentation of the story with the three leads. But there's a lot more about politics, obviously, in a Professional Gun and Compañeros, and I enjoy them as entertainments first and foremost. I think, as entertaining westerns. So, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Ulrich, what do you think?
They definitely have political messages, especially the Zapata type westerns, be it Tepepa, the Compañeros, Mercenary, and so forth. And also like The Great Silence, for example, you see a lot of political messages hidden in the storylines. So, but
Yeah.
obviously, I enjoy the movies for what they are, not because they're political or anything else.
When you did your book and you interviewed the directors and the actors, did they ever bring any of that up? Like, I was trying to make a political movie, but I, covered it as a Western.
Sergio Solima brought it up.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah,
And
that makes sense.
he was a very good interview partner. And also Giulio Petroni, because I talked to him about Tepepa, for example. And so that was obviously a very political movie.
Right.
And it's about the underdog in the Mexican Revolution and so forth. So that was really interesting talking to them about it.
So let me ask you, gentlemen, what do you think? Whether you guys, well, I don't know, Ulrich, if you still, because that Bible was a lifetime of work. That's 10 books in one. So I don't know if are you working on a new one? But do you think, as I said, I was going to ask you guys later what you're going to work on later when we close the show. But As far as spaghetti westerns go, is it are the books? Well, we touched on it before the show. Tom mentioned a chap. We don't have to go into the story. Who's doesn't like that all these new books are being written about Leone, and I don't mind personally. Between you and me, I don't mind 100 perspectives. But you think it's as authors, should we keep writing, or is it a little bit oversaturated? I can talk to the two authors below.
If you look at the whole breadth of genre, like 500 movies and all the personnel that were involved, you could legitimately do a book about every single person who worked on these movies. So that could be a hell of a lot of books.
Yeah, endless.
You could do it. You could do it on the actors. You could split it. There's so many different ways. You could do it by year. I think there's still a lot to be written. It's whether there's the market these days for books. I think there is in some aspects, but you've got to get the publishers interested in them. And it was I was lucky to get in quite quickly with two different publishers when for the little book was just pure chance that a friend of mine met someone in a cinema doing a talk after a movie, and they said my friend said, I've got a friend who could write a book on this subject, and they literally emailed me and said, would you like to write a little book? That's how the Pocket Essentials book came about. So It was like complete and utter luck. So I mean, yeah, it's more difficult now maybe to convince publishers. I don't know.
Right, Tom. Question for the gang.
I got a couple. We talk about this comes up every 10 years or so. Will this genre ever come back? Are they done making westerns in Europe? We see one like the what was it, the Sisters Brothers, or something like that. Every so often something comes up, and I don't know. For me,
Tom.
It never fits the bill. I mean, it's I look at it, I guess, from old eyes of looking at spaghetti westerns and going, it's okay, but it's not what I was looking for. I think Ulrich, the 6 Bullets for Hell, that was the closest, because they tried to make it look like a 1970s spaghetti westerns, and it had the feel for it and the music and everything. But will they ever come back?
I think there are always Western fans out there, and if you are lucky enough, there will be one or two. Like, of course, the Western was never really dead. There's always Westerns coming out. Not many, but a few. And a few good ones, like look at Dances with Wolves or whatever,
right.
like Unforgiven, or like the last one, which I didn't, which was quite interesting, was Sweetwater, for example, with Guy Pearce. And another one was Brimstone, which was a pan-European Western. So both of these films had some very interesting elements in them, I thought. So, and I'm sure there are other directors that would enjoy making a Western. That they would jump on the chance of doing one. And maybe maybe Sergio Solima's son, who's an excellent director, he did the second Sicario movie, for example, and he did an excellent crime series. I think he would have the potential to do a great Western, definitely.
Well, he's supposed to be working on that Cult,
exactly, on the Sergio
TV
Leone
series.
Story. Exactly.
Yeah, and that was supposed to have been filmed in British Columbia this past winter, but with the COVID,
that virus,
I don't think
of course,
they did anything. Yeah, right.
No,
So that once again, it's put on the shelf. And then there's always that Enzo Castellari, Franco Nero Western has been going around for 15 years or so, that they were going to have everybody from the genre in it, and they keep dying off. And I mean, the last I saw was Castellari was over in Spain when they were doing the Sisters Brothers, looking at locations. Okay. And I never heard anything, because they had an article in the Almeria paper, but I'd never seen anything or heard anything since. And every once in a while that's brought up. And I go, it'll never come out. It's 15 years old now, and they can't find production money. How's it ever going to be made after this? Yeah.
It's not going to happen. I agree with you.
Well, Tom,
I don't think so either.
I was waiting for Coming At You too. I was so disappointed.
Yeah.
Tony Anthony doesn't get enough credit, does he, Howard?
There's a Tony Anthony. No, I like Blind Man a lot. Blind
Man is great.
a few years ago, the three Stranger films, and then Get Mean, which
Right.
is kind of not a Western on the end of it. The second one, especially The Stranger Returns and Get Mean, they're very unusual Westerns. I think I really like. You should try and get maybe Tony Anthony on here to talk about them, because I think I've seen him interviewed on disc and stuff. I think he'd make an interesting interviewee.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, we interviewed him for Westerns All the magazine, and he said that the reason behind Get Mean was if that had worked, they could have taken the Stranger anywhere, like a time machine. You know,
Exactly.
he could have popped up here, he could have popped up there, could have popped up in England fighting, you know, at Robin Hood or whatever, but it just didn't work. But that was their idea behind it. But yeah, they got some clever dialogue, and there was always plenty of action in them. But to me, the first time I saw Stranger in Town, it completely turned me off. I didn't go see any spaghetti westerns after that because I didn't understand the character. I saw Clint Eastwood coming down the street saying, "Get 3 coffins ready." Oh, my mistake. Make it 4. And here's Tony Anthony climbing around avoiding these bad guys, where Clint would have just walked down the street, taking care of all of them, you know. And he finally explained he was playing a New York hood, basically a little back shooter, you know. Then it made sense and it was okay, but at the time I didn't understand it.
Right.
I
So
watched
let me-
the Blu-ray of Coming At You recently. They did a
Oh, really? Yeah.
cleaning that up. It looks amazing.
Wow.
Well, that one I went to see because it was 3D.
Yeah.
You know, and I really liked it. The bad part about that was the opening scene. He's walking around in the stable,
Yeah.
picking up, you know, and that looks great.
That's right, yeah,
If they had just done that, it would have been fantastic. But every 5 minutes, he has to stop and show a baby's butt coming
Yeah.
up and down, you know, or killing corn into a bucket. It's like, come on, that has nothing to do with the story. Move along.
Yeah, it was like a John Waters movie.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, yeah.
I was going to ask you guys, what director out there in what you watch, or what films, because Tom and I, one of our first episodes, it might have been the first, was our obscure list. What do you guys think is kind of outside the mainstream that you enjoy as a guilty pleasure? And perhaps, Ulrich, you already put it out.
Like Sicario, stuff like that. Oh, which one do you mean?
Like what's more, what's the one, Tom, with Milan's hand coming out, he's dead, and
Oh, Django Kill.
Django Kill, yeah.
yeah, that's like
Yeah.
a strange
Movie.
one. You know,
Oh,
that's
you
the
mean
one we will,
strange spaghetti westerns? Yeah, of course.
right.
Right.
That's an excellent one. Or El Puro, for example.
El Puro, yeah.
Yeah.
Right. What about Cutthroats 9?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Kind
an
of an
interesting
odd-
one.
Right, kind of violent, and John Carradine. And I always got to throw in an impression in during the shows. So yeah, Howard, what's one of your strange picks that you'd like to maybe throw on once in a while?
I would say Get Mean takes some beating, to be honest, because it's just so strange. The Vikings versus the barbarians, shot in Spain, in all the in
El Condor.
the proper but the proper castles as well, the actual Spanish castles. So there's that sequence at the start where they're in like a spaghetti western town that's in Spain anyway, and then they travel to Spain, don't they, for the film to play out.
The corner and they're in Spain,
It just seems so weird. But that one, I think, the lesser ones, there's one that's a bit like Two Mules for Sister Sarah, with a group of nuns and a gunslinger. I can't remember what it's called. But
a
it's like
fistful of books, or
yeah, Book of Dollars.
The Book of Dollars, the one with Lincoln Tate,
That's right, yeah. And it's just that's almost like, are they doing something to do with Two Mules for Sister Sarah? Or there's quite a few showing up lately on YouTube in English that haven't ever been available in English before anywhere. It's quite unusual for them to have all shown up out of the blue. And I've watched that quite recently, and it's just, I mean, it's properly dubbed. They bother to dub it and everything. It's an English language version of the film, but it's very strange.
Right. I watched that on YouTube about 3 weeks ago. Yeah. Because like you say, you've got to see them all.
Right.
That's right. Yeah, you've got your cars. Yeah.
No, I watched the Franco and Ciccio ones on there because I'll never buy them, but I got to see them. You know,
we've already talked about 2 tacos, a fart, and 5 beans. We already
Fist
talked
and
about
beans.
that.
That's Jay's favorite. Karate Fist and beans. Yeah.
Right. So Lee, would your cult favorite be Shakalo?
No, I mean, to be honest, I do
Shall I
like
go?
Jackie World for one thing, and that's there's a very talented British comedian at the start of the book, the aristocrat. It's always good to see him. Rick Sykes. It's always good to see him actually appear in a western. But my favourite strange ones, actually, Lincoln Tate is normally a good signifier that something strange is going to be happening in the movie. I don't know if you've seen the film called On the Third Day Arrived the Crow.
The Crow, yeah.
Exactly.
Really good pleasure. Matalo, like
No, don't mention Modelo. We don't mention Modelo on this show.
That is weird.
Or Luke
Yeah, no,
Castel.
that's
He's
the worst.
verboten here.
Yeah,
So anyway,
That's the one with the boomerang, isn't it?
yeah,
That's
Yeah.
the one that kills
Yeah.
me because the guy never moves.
Yeah.
He watches it go
Yeah.
flying through town and hits him in the head, and then they
Yeah.
throw it again, and he stands right there. Move 3 feet to the right, he'll miss you, you know.
what?
But then there's the other one that was that Modelo was taken from. That is and it's basically the same movie, and it's
Movie,
much
yeah.
better.
yeah.
Killer
No,
So
Tom,
they could have done it all right. It was to
what
me.
I-
It was
what
like it was like the Manson gang, and they loved to hit people with whips and chains. So the brutality part came out,
Yeah.
but the story was just like, oh no.
Well, that's what makes this fun. Nothing better than watching a pristine Blu-ray of Martello with Tom, watching Tom the whole movie. And then afterwards, when he goes, yeah, I got to go, I go, no, I just got this print of Little Rita.
Little
And then I
Rita.
put that in.
Yeah.
Tom cannot stop watching this movie. He says, Jay, I need a new print.
Now, see, Little
And,
Rita's got the Westerners version, which is they take all the songs out. So it's much better with all that singing and then Mary Poppins dancing on the rooftops. Like, and her voice to me is just grating on my
She's
ears.
trying to do like 60s Motown, and it's not working.
No, it doesn't
I
work.
think they should have got Lola Falana for Little Rita. Little Lola, they
Little
should have
Lola.
done.
She did
weirdest
the
thing-
other one with Lola Falana.
She
Yeah,
did Lola Cole.
Lola Cole. Yep.
Lola
Yeah.
Cole, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a good movie.
And the
Yeah.
thing about Rita is as well that's made on all the proper sets, and it's got a lot of actors in it that are in. It's got Fernando Sancho and Terence Hill,
Terence
and quite a
Hill.
few of the actors that would actually
Exactly.
be in these movies anyway. It feels quite
Yep.
authentic in terms of the background. So
Yep.
Absolutely, you just have to, with today's modern technology, throw it on, on an editing software and just cut her singing out. And it's the opposite. What she does for Little Rita, Anne Margaret brings to Tommy. So let that settled in for a second. So, anyways, gentlemen, we're at the point.
Let me
Yes, go ahead,
ask, let me
Tom.
ask another question. While you guys were all doing research, and you all do research for your books, was there anything that you comes to mind that when you were researching the books that just sort of amazed you? Any fact or something comes to light, or when you interviewed somebody, or you could go, "Holy mackerel! I never knew that." Or, I mean, there's certain things that when I research something, it's like, wow. As an example, we talked about Lincoln Tate. For the longest time, we didn't know who Lincoln Tate was. Is that his real name?
Yeah.
Is it somebody else? And I found out that, well, Charles Southwood was the other one. Everybody said, oh,
Yeah, exactly.
he was a takeoff on Eastwood. That's not his real name. Well, it's his real name, But it's things like that amaze me when you finally trace it down. Or the other mystery to me, Al Mullick.
Yeah.
The guy that committed suicide on Once Upon a Time in the West.
Exactly.
Yeah, whatever happened to him? Is he buried in Spain, Ulrich, or did they bring him back to England? Okay, we're talking about people that are in movies and you never find it. How about Mara Krupp? From
That's from
The Good, the
for a
Bad,
few-
yeah, or for a few dollars more.
This is like a
Hotel,
Bad
yeah.
Jeopardy episode.
Yeah.
We're all like,
She's in
huh?
5 or 6 westerns, but
Yeah.
and I mean, she was big in that. You think, wow, this German actress. Well, no, she's from Italy. I know that, but no information on her. No.
No information,
That's crazy.
unfortunately.
no, I think something I found out when I was writing my Once Upon a Time in the Italian West was that the fact that when Clint Eastwood went to Italy the first time to make the first film, he took a stunt double with him. So he took
Right.
William Tompkinson, this guy and it appeared as a character called Toothless in Rawhide.
Right.
So
Right.
he was friends with Eastwood. So they went over together to appear in Fistful of Dollars. And Tompkinson's credited at the beginning of the film as a Western consultant or technical advisor or something, and he's in the film as one of the Baxter men. He wears like a green shirt all the way
The
through
green
the movie.
shirt that points the pistol to tell.
That's right, yeah.
Marianne Cook
And
to go
that's-
forward. Yep.
So when Clint went and did the riding in Almeria, the sequence when they're riding down the canyons, I'm pretty sure that's not him. That's this other guy, this William Tompkinson. And when I put
Right.
all that together, it's a bit like what's happened with Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Now it's that idea of the
stuntman.
the guy and the stuntman kind of thing. They're both
yeah.
being in the same
Yeah.
situation. So
That's
I think
that's a good
when I
analogy.
found that
Yeah.
out, that was years ago, but I think when I found that out, it was quite interesting. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So, gentlemen, it's time for our second little clip, and it's another salute to Lee Van Cleef. And unfortunately, it was his last commercial. Tom, you know what that was for?
The beer commercial?
No,
Or the
it was for
Cheetos
Cheetos.
commercial?
For Cheetos. So
Okay.
if his last dying words were, here's a bag of Cheetos. So let's take a look and pay a little homage to the great Lee Van Cleef in his final TV commercial.
All right. Can you just pour me some water, please?
People eat these crunchy little things because it makes them happy. There's something about these funny shapes that turns them on. Or maybe it's the cheese in them. I don't know, I don't care. I don't want to be happy. You think I'd be where I am today if I knew how to smile? Cheetos brand cheese-flavored snacks. If you want to be happy, eat more Cheetos.
And I do. And
Now, I don't
anyway,
think that was his last commercial. Ask Ulrich. Didn't he make a beer commercial, German beer commercial, where they shove the glass of beer down the bar and he shoots it until he gets the right one? I think that came later, Jay.
Okay, the reason why I thought it was, I was debating, is because he looks worse in this commercial.
Yeah,
So
well,
I just figured he was
they're right
more
around the
frail.
same time, like maybe a year later or something. Yeah.
So I apologize for that. I was off by a commercial.
I'll tell you a story about that beer commercial,
Oh,
actually.
please do.
The guy I worked with, he used to watch the sports and the Olympics and stuff, and on the Eurosports channel. And he said, "Hey, you want to get Chin to do an advert with Lee Van Cleef?" And I said, "No, you got to be joking. What do you mean?" He said, "Oh, it's a beer advert. You've got to see it." So I just had to literally stick 4-hour tapes in the cassette player and just leave them taping overnight in the hope of catching this commercial. And I managed to catch it in the end, and it was well worth catching. It's a good one.
Excellent.
Wow.
Yeah. We've all been there. As I say,
Unbelievable.
the recording stuff. I mean, you're thinking years ago, staying up and like cutting the adverts out of movies. And I don't know whether you've ever done. I didn't do that as much. As soon as we could get long play tapes, that was okay. That you get 4 hours worth of recording and stuff. But I was saying, we used to live in the country when I was growing up, and we had 3 different TV aerials on the house facing in different directions to be able to get, so we could get all the different regions, because one region would be showing one film and one would be another. So I could get and then plug it in whichever one I needed for the night to record whichever film I wanted. It seems mad now.
No.
It does, I know.
Well, we had, Jay knows this, we had a Mexican TV station here in LA, and they played the English versions of spaghetti westerns redubbed back into Spanish. So when the credits came on, they were all in English. And the first time I never knew what Forgotten Pistolero. I just knew the music and I loved it. Yeah. And I'm in the other room and I hear this come on. I go, oh my God, that's Forgotten Pistolero. And I run in and watch the opening scene. Well, they used to be on from like 9 to 11 or something. And I mean, at 11, they went off the air. So there were a couple of times I'd watch some Western I wanted to watch, and there was like 3 minutes to go, and black screen. Oh, no.
Right.
Yeah.
So the things we used to do to watch these things that are incredible.
Yeah, we'll get up at 5 a.m. Tom knows my regimen. In the early 70s, I would wake up 5 a.m. to maybe, Count Chocula and a bowl of cereal, American bowl of cereal that had this terrible Lugosi wannabe on cartoon character. But I love the cereal. And it started at 5 a.m. with Gene Autry, 5:30, Roy Rogers, 6, a John Wayne, an early John Wayne movie from like 35, 30s, like On the Range with Tumbleweeds or something. And then it was just all the West. Tom Hatton for Channel 5 was a local host. He would show on the Family Film Festival. So this was like early years, early 70s. I was first tuned into spaghetti westerns. Well, westerns in general. And then it wasn't until later, I think it was some film class, they ran a spaghetti western. It might have been one of the Leones. So I'm just adding my 2 cents how I got started.
Did they show westerns on the telly when you guys were growing up?
Sure.
American
all the
westerns,
time.
or
Yeah,
did they?
American westerns mainly during the afternoons and early evening, but the spaghetti westerns were always after 9 o'clock at night.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, yeah.
Did they show? Oh, let me ask you this: did they show any of the Winnetou films
All the
on
time.
TV there?
Exactly.
You
Yeah.
saw them? Well, yeah, I know you.
I saw all of them. Yeah.
We never had any of them in LA that played.
We haven't
Really?
either. No.
No.
Because growing up, I used to collect TV guides, go to used bookstores and get
So did
TV
I.
guides, because the TV guides would give you a little one-sentence synopsis of what the movie was about and show 3 or 4 actors in it. And I'd go through
Exactly.
those. Never found a Winnetou film. Never.
Really? Wow.
No.
No.
I was looking forward to those all the time. I was a big Winnetou fan before I became a spaghetti western fan. So when I was very young.
Have you? Well, I know you probably have, Ulrich, but you two on the bottom, have you seen any of the DIFA westerns, the East German westerns?
Yeah, I've seen a few of those. It's very, very interesting.
Yeah,
They're
I have
a
as
bit
well.
like
Yeah,
the
yeah.
political
Yeah.
spaghetti westerns. Very
Well,
interesting.
they're almost more true to life than the Winnetou. Because
Exactly.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's the way the white man treated the Indians in those
Right.
days.
Yeah.
They found gold on his land. He was get out of there,
Yeah.
And
Exactly.
Dr.
American
Minnick
characters
was
of-
the main actor
Yeah.
instead of Pierre Brice. But yeah, I thought they were great. And the music is a lot more like spaghetti western music than
That's
Botcher.
correct.
I actually
Yeah.
could that in the Eurowan book because the Karl May were deemed to be not politically acceptable in East Germany under the communist rule. But when the
Correct.
Winnetou films came out, they were showing them in Czechoslovakia. They were banned in East Germany. They were showing them in Czechoslovakia and bordering countries. And all these Germans were traveling out of the country to go see the Winnetou
I'll see 'em.
movies.
Yeah.
So DEFA had to start making their own
Gotcha.
politically sanctioned Indian movies.
Wow. Yeah, I've got a book on the East German westerns, and then I've got they started about 10 years ago. They started releasing the CDs
Yeah.
on the scores. I got all of those.
Right.
Yeah, they're great. I really like them.
Good
Yeah.
music.
Okay,
man.
just wanted-
Very, yeah. The music's fun. Well, he was an extra. I think that guy. I don't know how to pronounce his name. That guy. That
Gutsko Middick, yeah, he was in a
Gutsko
couple of the
Middick.
He was
Winnetou
an
films.
extra. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, he was in the Winnetou films first,
Yep.
wasn't he?
Yeah,
Correct. Exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
We're
yeah.
actually giving Winnetou time, Tom.
yeah, I know. That's the only way I can get him in is to buzz you out. He doesn't like Winnetou.
Well,
He
not
doesn't
that I don't like them.
Come on.
They're-
He
they're-
doesn't consider White Fang movies westerns.
No, yeah.
He doesn't consider the
Winnetou-
Revolutionary films westerns,
No, the
He's got a
revolutionary
very
films are
narrow
westerns,
escape.
Tom.
The Winnetou movies have got a lot to offer. I mean, you've got Terence Hill and Klaus Kinski.
Yeah,
and-
right.
No, I got
Exactly.
that.
Very
No,
good.
I got it. Tom's just messing with
Very
you.
good.
Yeah.
They're just
Like
fine.
he bugs me on Modelo, I bug him on
Yeah.
Winnetou movies. Yeah.
Winnetou, White Fang, and the Winds of Alaska, whatever that
Yeah,
one was.
White
I
Fang,
forgot
yeah.
that one. But no, sorry. So, guys, let's ask you what you're currently pursuing and how far you're into it, and when can we look forward to it. We'll start with you, Lee.
Yeah, I'm wrapping up some research on a book which is going to be looking at how the US Civil War is represented in Italian westerns.
Oh,
And as I
wow.
say, in the past, you've had this idea that critics and even sort of casual viewers just kind of scoff at some of the scenarios that we see in Italian westerns as regards the behavior, Northerners, the Southerners, and the dynamic between them, etc. And just looking to see how Italy's own history of North-South conflicts might actually be what's being spoken about in these movies rather than some misunderstanding of actual US history.
That sounds interesting. Yeah, really.
Wow. Ulrich, what are you doing besides combing your mane back there?
Man bun.
Mostly on my DVD label, Blu-ray label.
Okay.
And trying to release some good westerns once in a while. not only Italian but also U.S. westerns, and like for example, I'm gonna release some. I released almost all the James Stewart westerns, the good ones from Universal, except maybe one or two, but I didn't get the rights, and I do some more on that way, and some other classics as well. Winchester 73 was not included, but all the others are like the Far Country, Bend of the River, and so forth. And so I do a lot of those, and I'm looking forward to doing more spaghetti westerns, actually, like $10,000 Blood Money, for example. I'm going to do that on Blu-ray as well, and the sequel, and maybe Johnny Hamlet and some others.
Ooh.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I think there's some interesting stuff coming up.
Right. So I don't want to get any cards and letters because, you know, Tom knows the curse. Once you announce something, they want it out next week. Right, Tom?
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, man.
So, Lee, what do we got working down the pike, or did you already tell us?
Yeah, I just told you.
He's doing the
Okay, Howard, I'm sorry. It's.
Yeah.
I've had 4 cups of coffee during the show.
I'm doing a lot of stuff with DVD companies at the moment, like Arrow and Eureka Entertainment. So we're doing the books that come with the DVDs. So I've done Fistful of Dynamite in the last few years, Django, Day of Anger, a whole load of different spaghetti westerns, and we've got more in the pipeline that I can't really say at the moment. But the writing for those involves, they're basically little chapters, like the chapters in my Once Upon a Time in the West book, Italian West book. It's an in-depth background on the films and the music. I've really enjoyed doing a Fistful of Dynamite. I go into the film soundtrack quite a lot and where it was filmed, and so I'm concentrating on those at the moment rather than actual books.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Tom, what are you working on these days?
on this podcast
Oh.
24/7, and I don't get paid either.
Well, get in line.
I get paid. What's that Italian script they used to give them? Caminali or something like that. That they used to give the actors, and it wasn't worth a darn by the time they got done with the film. Yeah, they went to cash it in and said, "I'm sorry, that company's bankrupt."
Yeah.
Right. Well, no, Tom knows how much I appreciate his time here, Tom.
One thing left for these guys, and I mean, they don't do it, but I think one of the most frustrating things I ever see is that we pick up a book on a subject that we all like, say spaghetti westerns or whatever, by an author you've never heard of, Joe Jones or something. Okay, you start to read it, and they're not bad; it's pretty good, and then they'll make some mistake that's like you said, Ulrich, it's on the internet. Didn't you go to Wikipedia? Or I mean, we say here, couldn't you contact somebody on one of the websites or whatever and ask them this? I mean, I find stuff that is like common knowledge, and they'll make a mistake, and it's like, I can't believe they did that. You know, I mean, I'm not going to point fingers, but I mean, Tim Lucas, when he did Fistful of Dollars or The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, was talking about the action being taken place in New Mexico. And it was like Santa Fe, Arizona. And wait a minute, Santa Fe is in New Mexico. And he called the serape a poncho. But I mean, to most people, who cares? But other people, it's like, oh, it's a poncho. Don't you know the difference between a poncho and a serape? You know,
yeah,
but it's just frustrating that they make mistakes that they could have said, is this right? I don't really know what, if I've gotten it written or not, but it's frustrating sometimes.
Well, because he dedicates all his time to Mario Bava. That's why.
That's it.
I was working on the chapter.
Because you mentioned Santa Fe, New Mexico, they did the same mistake in this new Winnetou trilogy that they did for TV a few years back. Maybe you remember it.
Yeah.
Came out on Blu-ray as well. Yeah. And also there it was, Santa Fe, Arizona. I couldn't believe my ears. I mean, who wrote that script? Santa Fe, Arizona. Ridiculous.
Yeah.
Beautiful things that kind of roll off the tongue though as you're typing. Because I did a chapter recently. I was talking about Morgan Freeman. And right until the very last moment, it was down into Morgan Fisher, and it. I just it's just one of those things.
Well, I think that's one of the things with the autocorrect today. I mean, you put something in there and someone transposes your what you've written is something else, and the computer corrects it unless they check it. There
Yeah.
it is, and we all know this. Once it gets in print, it's gospel. I mean,
That's
it
true.
goes forever, forever, forever. Yep.
Right. So anyway, it's time for it, Tom. You guys want to stick around? Tom and I usually do two things. It's book of the week, and then
Well, I'm going to skip book of the week. We've already done 5 of them. All these guys' books. There we go.
No. See, that's why they're not participating, Tom. We
Book of the
keep
week.
to the script.
The script.
We
I
keep
got
to the
to
script that we
pull one
paid
off the
to.
shelf then.
Okay. So, guys, you'll join us. I'll just do a quick book of the week.
Yeah.
And let's see what we got here. Hold on a second. Here's the book of the week.
No. Okay.
Ah.
It's, anyway, this book is by Joe Westwood. I'm sure that's his name.
Yeah.
And it's called Ultra Wild West. And it's not bad. It's a poor man's version of the macaroni. Let's see if I can get one here. I mean, they're not bad copies of the, you know what I mean? It's a fun book if you want to take it on the road with you. You won't get, it's $20. You won't worried about if it gets damaged or not. But it's a fun book. As I said, if you're not worried about damaging the pages. You can see where we are with the book of the week. And let me make it official. Book of the week. Okay, Tom,
Book of the week.
you're up.
Mine is the Italian dictionary, Diccionario del Western Italiano by
Tom,
Marco
that's
Giusti.
like the second week in a row you did the same book, but that's okay.
Did I do that one last week? I didn't do that one. Okay, I'll pull
Pick
another
another
one.
one, Tom. Get another
Okay,
off
how
the
about-
wall.
How about the Spanish version?
That's great.
It's my favorite title,
Babylon.
Monologue. Yeah.
Oh man, that's
That's
hilarious.
Well, you
Anyway.
did one that you didn't do, so we're all caught up.
Right. The reason I did that is because I was just flipping through it hours before the show, and why not show it? There's much better ones at that with more information, like from the gentleman that we have here today. But
Of course.
and then, gentlemen, if you don't mind sticking around, it's time, Tom. I hope you have something prepared for our
Yeah, I do.
audience. Okay,
Not
this
much.
is this is like what we like to call the weekly news with Tom Betts.
This is what we do the old school. The weekly news. I got a couple things this week. I just recently discovered that back on April 3rd of this year, a German DVD release of Karawani, which is actually The Girl of the Golden West, 1942, which a lot of people say is the first spaghetti western, at least modern day. It was directed by Karl Koch, starring Isa Pola, Rosanna Brazzi, Michelle Simone, and Valentina Cortez. It was released on Media Target Distribution in Region 2, Dolby Digital Mono in German only, running time of 80 minutes, which is probably the full release in those days. But it's only available in limited edition of 1,200 copies. So whether it's still available or not, I don't know, but there's a cover, picture of the cover. And then a couple of other things in passing. A German-born theater, film, and voice actress, Dinah Hinz, died in Zurich, Switzerland on July 14th. She was 82. She was born Dinah Eleonora Hinz on February 14th, 1934. Came from a family of actors, including her brother, Michael Hinz. She appeared in 2 Euro Western TV shows, I, Sheriff in 1973 as Mrs. Rosemary Wilson, and Huckleberry Finn and His Friends, 1979 as Aunt Sally. One other thing, since Morricone passed away earlier this month, the Rome City Council voted to rename the Music Park Auditorium the Ennio Morricone Auditorium on July 17th. So we'll probably see more things coming down the pike in honor of Morricone. And the last thing is, don't forget tomorrow, Saturday, July 25th, is the annual celebration of the National Day of the Cowboy here in the United States. So get out and celebrate. That's it.
Thank you, Tom. The National Day of the Cowboy is.
National Day of the Cowboy.
Will Glenn Ford be there?
In memory only.
Oh, okay. So that's our weekly news, and we had Book of the Week. And now, gentlemen, we do one more thing. Thank you so kindly. Before we say goodbye to you, I'd like to thank our our spaghetti western audience for being who they are. And let's see, where is that audience of mine? They're all right here, Tom, everywhere around the world, always leaving messages and private messages, most of them positive. And I think it's called the Spaghetti Groups on Facebook, Tom.
Okay.
So let's if I can find where I put them. Okay, here we are. Oh, Westerns all'Italiana.
Never heard of it.
And 800 Spaghetti Westerns. We have Once Upon a Time in Italy. The Spaghetti Westerns group, they're private. Spaghetti Western movie posters. Il Miglio del Western all'Italiana. We have Spaghetti Westerns Unchained. Fanatiques del Western Spaghetti. Of course, Opera Violence, they go without mention. And then our two friends, Hideko Uno and Hulk Junoon, our friends on the internet who help us with clips here and there. Now, if I can just get rid of this banner. So anyway, I want to, we forgot somebody very important, didn't we, Tom?
Who the heck would that be?
Shame on you for not helping out. No, it's our good friend Sebastian Hasselbeck.
Oh, Sebastian Hasselbeck of the Spaghetti Database.
Of
Sure.
the Spaghetti Western Database. And it's the one-stop everything store for your knowledge, anything you want to find out about an actor, director. There are interviews. I think has every single Spaghetti Western ever mentioned in their alternate titles. Great latest editions. It takes a lot of work. So a shout out to Sebastian Hasselbeck and the SWDB, which the quote I always tell him, just you should put it right underneath our banner, is the website Tom Betts uses daily.
Yeah, I do use it every day. Because I got to do
so
I got to do the obituary site on there, so I have to either add or delete every day.
Right. Well, anyway, that basically sums up our show. But I would like to say you are probably watching this live on Facebook.com. I want to thank all of you fans who are checking us out both on Facebook and YouTube, where this podcast is archived. So you can't miss it. You want to go to there's a YouTuber, guys, who watches the show and he painstakingly puts the timestamp on whoever's saying something. So at 2 minutes, Jay says this. At 3.5 minutes, Tom says that. Have you seen this, Tom?
No, I have not.
This guy is incredible on YouTube. So in case you want to get to your favorite author and bypass my rantings, you could go to that segment.
Well, I heard that Ulrich's going to stay up the rest of the night and translate this whole podcast into German.
Exactly, of course, you bet.
And also our sponsor, Westerns all'Italiana, the great blog, the great website, and the great Facebook page for all your needs. After you're finished spending half your day at the SWDB, hop on over to Tom's page. So anyway, guys, I want to thank you all for popping by. It was a real... Oh, crap.
Almost made it.
Oh, how are
There
we
we go.
now? Okay.
There you go.
Twice.
Yeah, yeah.
Almost made it.
This. So anyway, guys, I want to thank you all for joining us. It was an honor having you.
It was a lot of fun. Yeah.
Ulrich, you've enlightened us, told us about what's going on in what you guys are doing, the Spaghetti Western world. We wish you nothing but the best. And
keep on doing it. Don't stop.
Thanks.
Oh yeah, keep on writing.
Don't stop.
Keep on putting stuff out, DVDs, and we'll be a happier world because of it. So, Tom, any final words?
No, I just want to thank them. These guys are great. They did a fantastic job, and we had a lot of fun too. So, thanks for coming on.
We certainly
Thanks very
did.
much. Thanks very much.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, for having
Really,
us.
thanks for inviting us. Yeah.
Oh, it's
you're welcome.
it's our pleasure, and thank you so much, and for everybody watching, join us next Friday. Tom, you want to tell everybody what our topic of the day will
We're
be?
going to do a spaghetti Western location show on the $3 movies.
Oh, wow.
Then and
Right.
now.
Right, with video and pictures. So you'll want to tune in next Friday, high noon. That's at PST, and then 3 p.m. EST, and then 9 p.m. EU, 8 p.m. UK. So, Tom, thank you, buddy. We always say adios.
Adios, amigos.
Adios, amigos. Take care. And I'm Jay Jennings for everyone here today. We'll see you next time on Once Upon a Time in Spaghetti Westerns. Hola.
Hola.
Bye-bye.
See ya.
Bye.
See ya.
There we are.
Bye-bye.